a sentence today, and you can credit that. It is 9:28 right now. Welcome back to CW Iowa Live. Lou and Jackie here, along with a couple of friends joining us in studio now. Jackie?
That's right. We're talking about an event we've talked about many times, but it's one of our favorites, Cops Against Cancer, and that just means some good barbecues probably around the corner as well.
That's down the road as well.
Yep.
Jenny Cataldo is here. She's the Patient Navigator Services over at John Stoddard Cancer Center. And of course, speaking of Cops Against Cancer, Craig Finney is joining us.
Morning.
So a couple of things we want to get to. First and foremost, you have something very special coming up.
You bet.
April the 1st. We want to make sure people are aware of, because there's also a cutoff. There's a deadline that needs to be upheld too.
Next Monday afternoon is our cutoff for registration. So what we're doing is, this is our third year working with John Stoddard Cancer Center in providing a financial free weekend for any cancer patient, cancer survivor, patient care provider, anyone that if they're within 4 weeks of their cancer diagnosis or 4 years. What the weekend is a positive, inspirational weekend that there's a positive life after cancer. So this being our third year, we're bringing in some fantastic speakers again this year. We were talking this morning. We're going to talk about chemo brain, which is something that's just recently come about and getting a lot of publicity on that. We have a financial planner coming in, because folks going through cancer, they kind of have their blinders on, that
Tunnel vision,
that they're focused on their treatment and that, and they don't focus on, okay, what's going to happen with me 4 months, 4 years after my diagnosis. So we have a financial planner coming in. We'll be talking about our program. I'm a certified life coach with an emphasis of working with cancer patients, and we're doing a pilot program right now that's grant funded, that we're able to provide a 16-week program for cancer patients there's a positive life after cancer, because once they've completed their program with their treatments, who's their cheerleader afterwards? And that's what our coaching program provides, is that there is a positive life after your diagnosis.
And you've personally experienced that.
Yes, I am excited because this month is my 8th year, and it seems like yesterday. And I can't say it enough. I'm a product of what Jenny's office does. 8 years ago this month, I heard the most frightening 3-word statement, that we found cancer, and I had my full colon removed. And while we were in there, we saw what other cancer families were going through, and this is what started our whole program.
I was saying, that's where Cops Against Cancer came from, isn't it?
This is exactly. We saw the struggles that cancer families were having. And then someone from Jenny's office came in and pulled at my heartstrings that day and said, I'm here for you. And we sat and talked for an hour and a half. And I was questioning, are you my nurse today? And she said, no, I'm with the Patient Navigator program over at John Stoddard, and I'm here for you. I said, tell me about this program. And she started talking. I said, just a minute, Carol, all due respect, I've been a cop for 35 years. I'm not into this huggy-feely kind of stuff. And she said, that's fine. Don't do it for yourself, then do it for your wife. And it's like, oh my gosh. Okay.
Now the pressure's on.
and I've worked, and that's where we started our collaboration. I attended the programs through John Stoddard, and like I said, I'm a product of what Jenny's program does, and it's a phenomenal program, and we're very fortunate here in the Des Moines metro area to have this program.
Well, let's talk more about the program, Jenny, and why it's so important for people to come out to this special event on April 1st.
Yes, well, the event is wonderful. I think that people really walk away with just such a positive feeling, and I think it's just good to be together. And like we said, it's our third year doing it, and our navigation program is made up of 5 oncology certified nurses, and we also have a social worker, and we meet people usually at the beginning of their diagnosis, and then we follow them all the way through and connect them to resources within the cancer center, whether they need our social worker or dietitian, or we also have free counseling for patients and families. We have 2 psychologists, and then we all facilitate support groups that they can come to and meet and talk with each other once a month. And I think when he was definitely a part of that, and I love my job. I love it.
What's the one aspect that seems to be utilized the most when you talk to people and say, oh, here's what's out there, we understand what's going on, we're here for you, here are all the different programs we have. Which one seems to be utilized the most?
To be honest, I think everybody's needs could be a little bit different. I don't know that there's one. I think the nursing part of it, they all use just for education and for support that we provide. But then also, I think our social worker is very heavily used because there's a lot of financial difficulties that people face because you can't plan for cancer, and all of a sudden you can't work, or and so he is very busy.
You know, when you're punched in the gut and you're told that, you lose hope. And that's where their program comes into play, that you're not going through this by yourself. And folks, cancer families, when they're diagnosed, and I say family, not just the individual going through this, because when I went through it, my wife was going through something completely different than I was. And a lot of times the care provider is forgotten, and they're the critical element. They're the cheerleader. They're holding up. They're watching the kids, they're running the errands, they're maintaining both lifestyles now of the patient and the other network. And patients sometimes forget about the emotional, the physical side when they're hit with this. And that's what both of our programs, I call it a marriage because that's what it is. We've been, I would say, probably a great majority of our referrals come through Jenny's office and the other patient navigators programs. And that's, like I said, that's a marriage that we work very closely with the families, and we're excited about another program that we're getting ready to launch. But April 1st, it's going to run from 7:30 in the morning. We're opening the doors. We're providing breakfast. It's free for anyone that has a cancer connection. Like I said, patient, survivor, care provider. Anyone that has a cancer connection, it's free for them.
And they shouldn't be afraid to come to this,
No,
right?
absolutely not, because you'll walk away that morning with more resources and information than what you walked in with that morning. But we have a cutoff for registrations is 4 o'clock next Monday. So if you're interested, go onto our website, copsagainstcancer.org. There's a link at the top of our page that will take you directly to the registration portion of it. But this weekend, April 1st, Saturday morning, it's at the John Stoddard Cancer Center. There again, to our partnership, John Stoddard is opening up their conference center to us. It's a financial free weekend. And when I say financial, we have written specific grants for this program.
To cover it.
To cover it, so no other expenses. So our families over here that we normally help, that money is not affected by them.
Okay, Jenny, I want to go back to you real quick. We're talking money and finances and stuff like this, and beside the emotional devastation people have when they hear those three words, the financial aspect has to be equally as devastating to a lot of families. What would you tell a family that maybe in the past month or so they've heard those words, and now they're starting to realize what is going on, and now the money situation is coming up? What would you tell them?
Well, I think it's important to ask, what will this cost be to me? I think to ask and touch base with your insurance.
Because that's a touchy subject. A lot of people don't want to discuss that.
Right, and so I think getting in contact with your human resources, if you have a job, kind of what are my options, because a lot of people have different options as far as, maybe they have short-term disability through their work, or maybe they've signed up for long-term disability, so they've got a little bit longer. And so talking with your human resources, but also reaching out to your insurance and finding out coverages. I think if you have financial difficulties, you can also apply for financial assistance through Unity Point or whatever hospital you're at. Honestly, every hospital has a financial advocate's office, so I think that's something to know about as well. There's a lot of organizations like Craig's that will be able to help provide some assistance, so I think learning some of those. And I think just being a great communicator and asking for help when you need it, so being able to talk about it is really important.
Because there is help out there.
Absolutely, there is.
One of the things in recently that we're starting to have a lot more requests on, and when we get the referral, we start doing our background, and the first thing I ask them, the client, is, what are your needs? Not your wishes, what are your needs? And we start going through, and the first thing I'll ask is, where are you at on your car registration and your car insurance? If that's elapsed or it's expired, how are they going to get to their treatments? So that's one of the first things that we do is we'll help with their car registration to get that current. We'll help with their car insurance to get that caught up. And then the next thing, where are you at on your mortgage or your rent? It's those things that when the blinders come on, your whole life seems to stop. But the credit calls don't stop. Those still come in. The notices that you're behind on a payment, those still come in. So that's why we're fortunate to have the programs that we have, and by working with them, with Stoddard, that we're able to provide the assistance to these families.
Okay, now this is going to be happening again on April the 1st. And the key thing is, Jackie, registration is a week from today.
A week from today, folks, and we have proof right here on the set that there is a positive life after cancer. And we can't thank you enough for creating this wonderful organization and everything you do on a daily basis to bring hope into people's lives. Lots of important information, not only if you have gone through cancer or going through cancer, but your entire family can benefit from this wonderful weekend. So give us the details once again. Free and free!
And one more thing I want to point out. It says Cops Against Cancer. Do you have to be a cop in order to check this out?
No. Cops are our toughest audience, and they're a tough group to get into. But we're working with that. So whatever your cancer connection is, if you're going through, our program is if you're within 1 year of your treatments. So we get a lot of referrals that they've just been diagnosed. Now what? Well, that's where we start helping them with the now whats. So no, you don't have to be a cop, but we're excited about an outreach program that's going to involve the cops. We have a board member that was deputy chief under Bill Mulder, Nick Brown, that came up with an idea. He's on our board of directors. And Chief Brown came up with this idea. Let's start an outreach program where we get the local police departments involved with our cancer families. So we're starting this month. A majority of our client base is within a 90-mile of the Des Moines metro area. So this is where we're starting first, is this region. We have 8 regions across the state. We're starting here by providing education to the law enforcement agencies, the police, fire departments, local hospitals, folks that have a connection with the people in their town. So if we'd be approached by the sheriff's office down in Leon, hey, we have a family down here. We're going to go down to that sheriff's department, provide their agency with training on how to recognize. So when the officer's out on his day-to-day work and somebody says, you know, I have enough on my plate right now going through this. My car got broken into. I'm going through cancer. Now the officer goes, you're going through cancer? I said, yeah. We got a resource for you. And they start the ball rolling there. So they start sharing our program, the outreach program. The officers are out there sharing our program. They refer the client back to us. We do our stuff. We see that the family is in need of assistance. Now we provide that sheriff's office with the assistance, and the sheriff's office personally delivers the resources to the family.
Hands it off.
Hands it off. So we're looking forward to working with the police departments, fire departments, and that. So
now, Jenny, you're smiling ear to ear when you're hearing
love
this.
that.
Isn't it amazing how this just explodes?
It is. It's amazing. You know, everybody's just touching each other, and that's awesome.
And like, you know, what our niche is barbecue. And that's where this outreach program is coming into play too, because we're looking right now for investors. We want to purchase a commercial barbecue trailer. So when a family contacts us and they have an expense over $1,500, we'll say, you know, I got $3,000 in debt. So now our agency works with that family, getting them actively involved in their fight. They get us into an American Legion Hall, a VFW, a community center. We're able to bring this barbecue trailer in, which is going to be a state-approved, state-regulated restaurant, mobile restaurant, but now we're doing mobile fundraising specifically for that family. That family could walk away $3,000, $4,000 from a fundraiser, and there's no expense to them. We're doing it with our volunteers, but we're able to come into that community and provide an extension of services that we wouldn't have been able to do if they had a $500 assistance, where $3,000 we're able to come in and do an entire fundraiser for that family, for that purpose. With this program, we estimate at least 35 to 40 additional families a year. an additional $135,000 a year that will be able to help families.
Lots of great things to look forward to.
Yes.
If people need to reserve their spot for next weekend, how can they do that?
Go online, copsagainstcancer.org.
Okay.
Numbers there on the screen. They can call if they don't have access to the internet. If you have access to the internet, our website, and then registration's at the top of the page.
All right, and everybody wants to know, when's the barbecue event?
Barbecue is June 10th, and we will be back next month. I apologize for not bringing barbecue in.
That's okay. We'll forgive you this time, but not another time.
We have a huge event coming up May 5th, so that weekend I'm going to be smoking additional, and we're coming in later that week.
Perfect.
That works.
Well, we're downright proud for everything that you guys
Thank
do.
you, guys.
Thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you
Jackie,
very
thank you
much.
very much.
Thanks.
Stivers Ford Lincoln, this is one of the reasons we do this. Like Jackie said, they're downright proud to salute great organizations, and yours is definitely one of them. We will be right back. This is CW Iowa Live in Weston.
Thanks, guys.